Howdy folks, I'm Anticipatory Antilia, airily arising above ancient artifacts.
I'm Amber.
And here are more ancient artifacts for us to arise above. And speaking of ancient artifacts, folks, did you know Antilia is an air pump? I wish I were making this up, but apparently that's one of the 88 recognized NASA constellations, as Amber has said.
I just googled the list of constellations. NASA has a page of 88 of them. It was the next one on there.
What do you think are the odds, folks, that the ancient Greeks had Antilia, the air pump, as part of their repertoire of constellations? Maybe I should have said ancient Greek or Roman or Chinese or any other astrological culture, Amber. This is uncultured. I'm outraged. Let's get started. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for uninviting my sister and her husband from my son's wedding reception for making a 90-day fiance joke? Well, I'm a 55-year-old male, and last week my son James, a 28-year-old male, got married to his partner Zara, a 28-year-old female. They were together for around 9 years before they got married, and they met in the university. Zara's from overseas, she's South Asian, though she has been here for around 9 to 10 years. She's been a member of our family for all of that time, and we love her, especially as her own parents are abroad. Our family are white. My sister Beth and husband Tom have always been nice enough to Zara and James, but last year they found out that Zara wasn't British Asian. She was a foreign national. It's a understandable misconception, as Zara sounds British and South Asians are a large diaspora here. They started making quips about visa marriages and 90-day fiancés, which I gather is a US TV program. Not in my presence, but Jay and Z ignored them. However, after the wedding last week, we had a family dinner where Beth and Tom again brought up the visa marriage and made a Meghan Markle joke, and then said that they would only let their daughter marry a foreigner after he got a British citizenship. Z and Jay looked shell-shocked as they didn't expect this to be brought up at the wedding event. I immediately uninvited them from the reception. There and then. My wife and I are paying for the reception as Z's parents paid for the wedding, and both Z and Jay were happy at the uninvite. Beth and Tom are now playing the victim. They're saying that they only had Jay's best interests at heart because they've seen the horror visa marriages can do to citizens being taken advantage of on TV. I said meaning well means nothing, and they're now telling our other family that we are bullying them. Some took their side, saying that we're only trying to help and should re-invite them. I am refusing, as I think that their reasoning is BS. First, because the US visa marriage TV programs don't really apply to the UK. It's much harder to get a spouse visa here. 90-day fiancé isn't a concern because you can't just get a citizenship after a couple months of marriage here. It's never been the case. And from what James said, Zara has spent around $25,000 across the years for visa renewals, her own money. It's not as simple as getting married. Secondly, because James will be the first to say Zara is far more qualified than him. She has wealthy parents, a doctorate, and earns $50,000. She doesn't need our son's sponsorship and would easily qualify for citizenship in her own right after a couple of years. Beth and Tom, in a response, now said that they didn't know the visa processes were different, but in my opinion, then why insult her at the wedding? Well, just a lot of comments coming in our way now, saying that we should forgive them for trying to help. Wife and I refused. Jay and Z are happy with my refusal, but people are now making comments about being a reasonable concern when it objectively has never been a concern. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. What they did was completely inappropriate. You can't trash the couple getting married and then expect it to be invited to the party.
Yeah, it's a little odd. I'm saying this because it's like they're having a reception at a different time, it seems like. So they had the wedding. They made this comment during the wedding, it sounds like, or maybe at like a dinner
following the wedding, yeah.
But that wasn't the reception. I mean, it could just be the UK does things a lot differently, but it's weird to me because it's always like the reception almost always follows the wedding. As for their comment, were they really saving them any this is just like, oh, we had the best intentions heart. No, you just wanted to punch down.
Exactly. Like, they didn't handle this well at all. They took stereotypes from an American TV show, didn't do any research,
Mm-hmm.
and just started spouting off, vaguely xenophobic things, assuming that because she was not born in the UK, that clearly she's after James for his citizenship.
Yeah, when she's been dating him for 9 years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, come on, really? And then also, I don't think it's that easy to get a U.S. citizenship even through marriage. I think that there's still a lot of hoops you have to jump through.
Yeah, I've never seen 90 Day Fiance, but I thought the idea of the show was just that people were kind of like paired up. It wasn't all visa things, just like you had
Yeah,
90 days to get ready to marry someone.
yeah. So it sounds like a very odd assumption to make. And again, like this is their own decision. And I mean, okay, suppose that if this might have been a concern if they had met 2 weeks ago and suddenly he's like, oh, I met this foreign girl and she wants to get married right now.
Well, and the thing is, like, if you have a legitimate concern, you talk to people about it in
Mm-hmm.
private.
Oh,
You
yeah, yeah.
don't go saying snarky things all over in public. Like, they clearly just wanted to humiliate and shame her.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what this comes across. I don't really feel they had any good intentions here. They just wanted to punch down. They just wanted to make fun of her for being foreign, and they just seem to carry a chip on their shoulder when it comes to foreign people, even though they couldn't even tell the difference between her and a citizen.
Right. They have no idea about anything. They're just really ignorant about the whole process, and they're using this American TV show as like an excuse for their xenophobia.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for being upset that my son packs my grandson lunch for school? I'm a 64-year-old female and my son is a 38-year-old male, and he's father to an 11-year-old. Today, when I was over at his house, I noticed something that really rubbed me the wrong way. He was getting his son ready for school, and I saw him packing his lunch. Now, normally, you would think, great, he's being a responsible parent. But here's the catch. I think that he's babying his son too much. I firmly believe that an 11-year-old son should be able to make their own lunch. When I brought it up to him, he brushed off my concern, saying that he enjoys packing his son a lunch and sees it as an act of love. But I can't help but feel like he is stunting his son's independence by doing everything for him. Am I a jerk for being upset by this? Should I just mind my own business and let Jake parent how he wants to? Or am I justified in wanting him to encourage more independence in his son? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yeah, Opie's the jerk here, and she should just mind her own business. Like, this does not adversely affect her in any way. It doesn't adversely affect her grandson. It's just packing him a lunch. Lots of people pack lunches for people that they care about.
Yeah.
Spouses will do it for each other, parents for children. It's a perfectly acceptable thing. Now, it's one thing if he does absolutely nothing for himself, if he needs his dad to put on his shoes for him and, like, carry him to the bus stop, I don't know, and has no physical disabilities.
Yeah, I mean, there's a case to be made where in a universe she could be right, right? If she is noticing that he is constantly coddling his son in everything and not allowing his son to have any kind of independence, then that's worth a conversation to have. But it does, it's really difficult to make that assessment even from here. Like, she doesn't get into the details of being like, he's always doing everything for his son, and I would think that, like, as concerned as she is here, that she would probably get into those details as well.
Yeah, I'm assuming she would have said it. So I'm assuming from this post that this is just one nice thing that he does from the son, and the son is otherwise, well adjusted.
Yeah. Now, I do think that kids should learn how to pack their own lunches, and I think kids should learn how to cook food, and they should be able to be independent to some level. And, if OP is this concerned, maybe she can spend some time with her grandson and, teach him how to cook and teach him how to have some skills here. Like, if she sees him, struggling in some area, it might be a good time to spend some, time together and do stuff, right? And I think that would be a good way for her to reassure herself that he can be independent in some activities here. And again, he's 11, right? He's not 21 years old, still living at home, and the dad's packing him a lunch still, right? And, perfectly capable of packing lunch, but his dad does it for him, right? There might be a little bit of a different case there. I'm not saying that even in that particular case it would be solely wrong, but there might be more to it at that point in time.
Yeah, it just seems like a really nice gesture for the son. And I know some people really enjoy, especially like when their parents will leave like special notes and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, really enjoy that nice little touch from a parent.
Yeah, yeah. And Katana 1369 says, "You're the jerk, mind your own business. He's succeeding in being a better parent than you were, obviously." And OP replies, "Me and my husband taught him how to be a man who is capable of being strong and independent. Personally, I'd like him and his wife to do the same thing with their son." Wow, that just took a totally different slant on this post.
Yeah, and that might be why he does this for the son. Is if his parents made him do everything and he resented it, he doesn't want his son to feel the same way.
And MD 7001 says, "Again, none of your business. There are many ways to become a responsible adult." And OP replies, "Depends on what you mean by stereotype. There are things that as adults, both men and women should be doing. But I do believe that men are supposed to be strong leaders, providers, work, and protectors for their wives and kids." Guess really what this boils down to is that OP has some very different life philosophies than their son, and OP needs to mind their own business and
Mm-hmm.
leave their son alone.
Yeah, and it raises the question of would they be upset if he was packing his daughter a lunch or,
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, "Today I Messed Up by Bringing Home a Random Photo from a Thrift Store." About 2 years ago, I picked up a framed photo at a thrift store. The photo is from the 1960s and depicts two couples at some type of event and restaurant as they pose with their waiter, whom I now suspect may have been the original owner of the photo. Anyways, there isn't anything particularly special about the photo. I picked it up for $1 because I thought it captured a random moment in time, and you could peer into the photo and take a glimpse of the fashion, the dinnerware, the essence of the moment. Although these 5 people were strangers to me, the history and mystery intrigued me. For 2 years, this photo sat proudly upon our curiosity cabinet, front and center, for purely no other reason than aesthetics. Yesterday, my boyfriend walked by, as he does every single day, stopped and looked at the photo. He inquisitively asked me where the picture came from, and I told him. He then proceeded to tell me that one of the men in the photo was George Wallace. George Wallace. And his wife have been proudly sitting on top of my cabinet for 2 years. I unfortunately share the same surname, so my boyfriend thought that I was related to him and didn't say anything about it until now. Of course, I promptly took the photo down, so now what? Do I turn it into some type of museum? Is it a historical artifact? Deface it? Burn it? It's Black History Month. I feel so stupid and embarrassed. I just want it gone. It went from being this whimsical moment captured in time to carrying some major Ouija board energy. Alright, folks, what do you think of this post?
My big question is why did the boyfriend wait 2 years to bring this up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, all OP obviously didn't do anything wrong. They didn't know what the significance of the photo was.
Mm-hmm.
But the boyfriend just walked past it for 2 years and waited until now to be like, hey, by the way, that's George Wallace in the photo.
Yeah. I think that OP didn't do anything wrong in this situation, but if you ever see somebody with something like this, then maybe just inquisitively ask them, "Hey, what's the deal with this photo?" Or, how do you relate to this photo?" And I think that's why it's important not to make assumptions like, "Oh, because they share last names, they must be related," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not an unreasonable thing to make an assumption about.
Yeah, but it does raise the question then is like he okay with OP displaying a photo of George Wallace from the 60s, even if he's a relative?
Yeah.
Like, is that the kind of relative you want on your wall?
Now, there is something to be said that George Wallace did eventually renounce his segregational ways, all right? But he also did a lot of also bad things throughout his time. So I think that, with this also being from the 1960s, well before he renounced those views of his, there does need to be some kind of question about what that does represent, right? And it's going to have very different representations for OP, who found it whimsical, versus somebody who might think that OP was perhaps signaling something with this, right? And I do think that, again, the boyfriend, if he knew that this was a George Wallace photo, that he should have taken some time to figure out what the significance of it was at that point in time. So, if anyone is in the wrong, not that this is like a Am I the Jerk post, I would think that it would be him for not talking about this sooner.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is, like, hopefully no one else has recognized it, but potentially people coming into OP's house have seen this photo and made assumptions about OP based on it.
Yeah. Just take this post, OP, when you're done with it, post it to Facebook and be like, haha, I can laugh at myself now. Please forgive me.
Or just post it in the space, like frame it and put it where the other photo used to be.
Yeah. Or there's apparently another George Wallace, post another George Wallace and just be like, oh, I thought this one George Wallace was the other George Wallace. I'm just kidding. That would not work out well, I would think. So I feel bad for OP because this is a pretty embarrassing thing to do. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
Yes, we've moved into the miscellaneous section now, so there's no commonality anymore. What do you call a heist orchestrated by a cloaked figure?
Well, I can tell you exactly what you call a heist orchestrated by a cloaked figure. You call it death on the move, because that's really, the old death with a scythe and stuff like that. All he's doing is having a heist on people's souls. I would say we arrest death and throw them in jail.
You call it a caper.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. And I have the apple cinnamon tea today. Or licorice spice, depending on which one you want to guess. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Happy spectacular Saturday! I hope it's going spectacularly for you. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it involve prejudice.
If you're at a wedding and you think it would be a great idea to start badgering the bride and groom about visa weddings, don't.
I think that's a good life philosophy right there. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!